Hey, what's up guys? Today's video is going to go over how I managed to win just over half of the games that I play. Before you go out and call me a fake or a bush camper, I will be going over more than just bush camping. There are lots of different ways to play and win, and not all of them have to be boring. Just to prove that I do win more than half of my games, this past week I went full sweat winning the games, and these are the full breakdown for the solo, duo, and squad stats. When the idea of a battle royale comes to mind, most people would think that hiding until you're the last player is the best way to succeed. This can't be more wrong, because if you hide until you're the last, then that means that there's someone else who has slain everyone else and is looking for you to finish the game. This is what I like to call the Tifu, where because he plays so aggressively, he kills all the average to high skill players, leaving behind the players surviving by hiding. I'll be breaking down the video into 6 different sections, so if there's a specific part you want to go, just click over to that time now. The first part is mechanical skill. Let's face it, if you cannot aim or build at all, you have no chance of winning unless the last two happen to kill each other, and which that is extremely unlikely. The most basic skill you need to be able to do is 90s and scissor ramps, which are 2 simple things. I recommend doing circle 90s as they are the easiest to master, and 90s in any public match in Season 9 will work just for you. Most people think that 90s are not necessary in the current meta, or especially in public matches, and it's only used in creative. But because it's so uncommonly used in a public match, it is something that can really easily get you hype. Next, you need to be able to aim a shotgun or spray someone down. This is something super important because there's no other way to kill someone except with explosives or holding them in storm, but these 2 circumstances are pretty rare and the opportunities don't really arise. I recommend downloading Kovacs or going into a creative aim training map. I'll leave a code down in the description, a creative code, which would be great for training your aim, but do beware that it does have a huge impact on your frames, so the practice in there could be different from application in a real game because the frames are different, which could affect your sensitivity. The second thing I want to talk about is open game and rotation. So the open game is basically the beginning of the game from when the bus starts moving across the map, and this is where about 60 to 70% of the lobby will die out because everyone wants to play super aggressive, and they tend to die out before the first storm even closes. This may seem like the hardest part to survive, but it's actually the easiest if you drop in the right places. Some of the best examples I can give are when the bus is going from Lonely to Snobby, or vice versa. A great drop spot would be Lucky Landing, Westworld, or just any cities far from the end of the bus. So for example, if the bus ends at Junk Junction, a good place to go would be Sunny Steps. So if the bus ends at Lucky Landing or Lazy Lagoon, then Snobby Shores or Lonely would be a good place to drop. Just think about the furthest location from the bus path at the end of the bus that wouldn't be closer if you dropped out of the bus at any point sooner. From here, looting and rotation should be pretty simple. About 0 to 1 people will be going with you because a majority of the players will be very impatient and will usually drop at hot spots or at a larger point of interest such as Mega Mall, Tilted, Pleasant, or somewhere that was hot from the bus. When looting, make sure to farm up as much as possible, focusing on wood and brick as much as they are much faster to farm than metal. You should hope to leave with about 700 wood, 400 brick, and about 100 to 200 metal at least. By having this many materials, you should never worry about running out of materials at any point in your game. Obviously, you should continue to farm throughout the game so that way your mats stay up and you don't start to diminish down as if it was a bank account where no money was flowing in. Farming also helps keeping you from getting impatient because what happens a lot of times when we get bored is that we want to fight someone, and by farming it keeps us a little bit more distracted so we don't start a fight when we shouldn't be. Section 3 goes over loadout and weapon selection. Whenever you have a loadout, be sure to always have your inventory items in the same slot every time so that you aren't looking at your inventory to know where your shotgun or AR should be. In addition to this, you should have specific keybinds that take you to that specific weapon. So that way you're not relying on your scroll wheel to try to scroll to the weapon that you need. Sometimes when we panic, we tend to accidentally over scroll or under scroll, which could lead us to using the wrong weapons, and that's not something that we want to happen. Everyone's loadout will be different depending on their playstyle. In the order of my loadout, I like to have a spray weapon in my slot 1, a shotgun in 2, an AR in 3, and a shield in 5. Now, you may notice I've just skipped slot 4, and that's because that is my special weapon slot, where it could be used for a grenade launcher, a sniper, some sort of throwing weapon like stink bombs, storm flips, and a lot of time I'll actually even use this slot as a second shield. In addition, if you use a combat shotgun, there's no need to have a spray weapon, as you won't be switching to it in a fight, so you could replace your spray weapon with something else if that's the case. Don't worry about not having a spray weapon for shooting down walls and stuff, because if you have a normal assault rifle or a heavy, you can still shoot down walls, and you can even do it from a further distance, something a drum gun or an SMG cannot do. In terms of weapons, the best spraying weapons are the drum gun, suppressed SMG, and the tactical AR. The tactical AR is much slower at firing, so be careful of that. If you use a drum gun, you also have to be aware that it chugs AR ammo super hard, so you have to make sure you have around 250 plus medium ammo, including the magazine that's already in your gun if you're going to use an AR and a drum gun. And you can't use a drum gun really for long distance spray because it has almost no range. The two shotguns you really should not consider using are the drum shotgun and the tactical shotgun. Even though they added the purple and legendary tactical shotguns recently, they're still not good to use. The drum is great at point blank range, but if you're fighting people that close, then there becomes a 50-50 chance you die. And if you don't die, you'll be super weak for your next fight. The tactical shotgun is designed to be a faster firing pump with less damage, but the thing is that the combat fires faster than the tactical and does more damage, beating the shotgun in every way. The pump is a viable weapon, but it's risky because it requires more skill to use. In a fight against the combat and the pump has a longer time to kill than the combat shotgun, even if you use an SMG following up with your pump shot. Plus, if you miss your first shot or deal very little damage with your pump, then you're in a lot of trouble. In the end, I personally always use the combat, and it leaves me with up to 3 spots to have shields, heals, or some other weapon with me. Now, snipers should be avoided if you are new to Fortnite or not very advanced with them. The reason that I say this is because they can give you tunnel vision and you try to focus on one point or person, and by doing that you completely expose yourself to someone else who's sniping, or someone who could come up and just spray you and laser you to death. One of the best weapons I can recommend for easy wins is the rocket launcher. This is very easy to control as it moves in a linear direction and has no gravity effect on it. Be careful though, as you don't want to blow yourself up. The rocket launcher is best used at low ground or high ground perspective, where you can shoot them down or you can shoot people from high to low. A lot of times people don't check their walls or their sides, and they don't completely box up whenever a rocket's shot towards them. So you could even hit a rocket off to the side and have splash damage hit them. Either way, these are key to being successful. If you can rocket someone down or build up on them from a high point and sneak a rocket into them, then you can do a nasty amount of damage, and that basically puts the fight away right there. Another way to use the rocket launcher is if you are the last person besides your opponent, you could gain natural high ground or get closer positioning to the storm, so they have to run to you, and then you just spray rockets at them in order to waste all of their material so they have nothing left to use to fight against you. Section 4 covers when to hide or fight. Most of the time, there is no reason to engage someone unless they have made it very clear that they know that you are there. If there are more than 25 players, I recommend trying to be as discreet as possible. This is by checking your surroundings and including your back to make sure that no one is there, and to get yourself out of their line of sight if you see them as fast as possible without building. If you build to hide yourself, there's a chance that they might see the glow of the building finish, which attracts the eye very easily. Funny enough, bush camping is actually an old meta that works now because nobody does it. If you're going to try using the green toy trooper if you have that skin, and hold minis or bandages in your hand in order to reduce the amount of objects that peek out of the bush. The best bushes are the ones that are on a hill because they are slanted and will hide you much better. Another trick to hide is to make a 1x1 with brick and make an edit so it looks like you left, and hide in either the bottom or the top cone. This is a great way to fake out your opponents because it looks like someone had built in there earlier to heal up and then they have left. The reason you don't use wood is because it's partially transparent so people could easily see you, and the reason you don't use metal is because it takes too long to build. But if you have the time, it would be a great choice to use metal. If an enemy starts to shoot at you, then there's no point in turning back. The best course of action is not to run away, because if you do, the average Fortnite player will come to the idea that you are A, low on health, or B, bad at Fortnite. The trick is really taking a 1v1 stance at this. Go for height and try to take shots at them while they are trying to get height, or if they box up, then you begin to box fight them, which is something you should practice. Usually near the end of these encounters, they will end in a box fight, and if you have good ping, you can take their wall, or you can try to trick them and break multiple walls or their floor or cone. and then you can get an edit on them and kill them. Whatever you do, don't give him the chance to heal. If the fight goes south and he has hide on you and clearly demonstrates that he is a better builder than you, then it's time to hide. Use the brick strat that I mentioned earlier with a 1x1 and hide in a cone until he leaves or until someone else comes a third party. It's crucial that he does not see you do this, because if he does catch you one time doing this, then he's alert that you might do this again and he'll be constantly looking for you. I recommend, if you know that the opponent is much better than you, then do the cone strat as fast as you can so that way you can already get out of line of sight and save your materials. I recommend late rotating from this position and hanging near the zone as much as possible just to avoid attention. Hiding behind doors in bathrooms and other rooms with no windows is also a great idea too, especially in endgame. The fifth thing I want to talk about in this video is final rotation and closing in on the win. Near the end of the game, when the zone gets really small around the 4th or 5th zone, you want to try to rotate as soon as possible without being noticed. Generally, when there's around 3 more enemies or 2 more enemies and you're the third person left, then that's the most optimal time to wait for a fight to start. Because once you know that that fight has started, then you know that you will be in the best position possible out of the last person alive. When there's 3 people left and the last 2 are fighting, that means that you're the only person not fighting, and those 2 are wasting materials, time, and resources fighting each other. At this point, it's okay to third party or make yourself very well known. Try to get yourself in a more optimal position than them, closer to the storm or the storm circle, so that way you can pressure them or pressure whoever's the last one from that fight getting into the zone, and this is how you can close the game very easily with storm pressure. At this point, you should feel very confident about winning because the last player just came off a fight and he is likely not at full health, and his material count is probably not as great as yours. By now, the zone is moving and it's making its way towards you, and he has to move towards you. At this point, you should begin to pressure him with an assault rifle, and you might even get a few tags on him. At this point, he is burning even more materials just trying to avoid cover fire from you, and still has to make his way towards the zone and does not have any time to stop and heal. Your opponent may try to run faster to get some time to heal up, but as long as you maintain pressure on him, he should not be able to heal at all. At this point, the game is basically yours, and he's likely just trying to push up to you or try to get into zone and survive. Let him try to come up to you, and while he's ramping up, you can take a shot at him with your shotgun to try and weaken him. At this point, the game is basically all yours. Hold tight and wait for him to try to take a peek at you or try to get high ground and accidentally expose himself for you to finish him off. The sixth thing and the last thing I want to talk about is the new gun that Fortnite added to the game. As of the 23rd of July, Epic Games has added a Storm Scout Sniper, which basically lets the player or user know where the next zone is. This is extremely important because when the zone is starting to get very small, you want to be on the side closest to the next zone so you have the least amount to rotate, while everyone else has a long distance to go. At this point, you should be looking to early rotate as soon as possible and look for positioning to wipe out the rest of the enemies that have to deal with Storm on their back and bullets on their front. In conclusion, I hope this helps you guys get some more wins. This is a very good strategy that works in solos and also works in duos. Thank you all for watching, and if you guys have any questions, I'll be there in the comments section to help clear up any confusion or answer some more in-depth questions that you guys might have. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like or subscribe so I can see what you guys like and I can post more content in the future for you guys. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future and I'll work on new videos for you guys. Peace.